It's already over. The cover-up held for 14 years. And tonight, Beyoncé's own mother just cracked it open on live TV without saying her name once. Look at the timestamp. Look at the trembling lip. Look at the woman who built her entire public life on grace, glass shattering on national television over a rumor everyone was supposed to forget by now. That single tear is doing more talking than any press release Roc Nation has issued in a decade. And by the time you finish this video, you're going to understand exactly why she couldn't hold it in anymore, why the air in that studio changed, and why a name from 2011 is suddenly back in every group chat in 2026. So sit back, phone face down, lights off, because I'm about to walk you through the receipts the algorithm keeps trying to bury in the order they actually fell, with the names nobody at the top of the food chain wants you saying out loud tonight. Now, before we touch the body, before we touch the bump, before we touch a single courtroom filing, you need to know who Kathy actually was. Not the rumor, not the headline, not the thumbnail, the human. Her full government name was Kathy Karanna White. The folks who loved her on a first-name basis called her Corey. 29 years old, half Korean, half black, born July 3, 1982, down in Fort Polk, Louisiana, into a military family that taught her how to move quiet and stay polished. Howard University grad, the kind of degree that doesn't fall in your lap. She built her own boutique publicity firm with her own two hands, White Label PR. And by 2011, she wasn't somebody fighting to get into the building. She had her own key card. She was running point for serious names in entertainment, the kind of names that don't sit at a table with just anybody. This was not a club groupie. This was not a side piece chasing clout. This was a sharp, self-made operator who had her own seat, her own assistants, her own lane. Remember that, because the version of her that gets passed around online does not match the woman her real friends knew. And that mismatch is the first crack in the official story. Now, August 2010, the first match, the first spark, the first piece of paper that started this whole thing burning. A site called Hollywood Street King drops a headline that lit up every BlackBerry in the building. Caught red-handed, Jay-Z allegedly stepping on Beyoncé with Kathy White. Attached to that post? Photos, real photos, inside the Tao nightclub in Las Vegas. Kathy seated at the same booth as Sean Carter. And here is the part that aged like sour milk in a hot car. Sean Combs was at that exact same table. Diddy. Yes, that Diddy. The man currently sitting in federal custody. The man whose name is now welded to every conversation about predatory power in this industry. He was right there, in the frame, in the booth, in the receipt. Beyoncé was nowhere in those photos. Nowhere. Not even a coat in the background. Kathy publicly denied every word, wiped her social, killed her timeline, vanished. The world clapped its hands, said cute story, and moved on for exactly 12 months. And then, August 28, 2011, the MTV Video Music Awards. Beyoncé walks out, performs Love on Top like she has lightning in her chest, glides toward the mic, undoes the buttons on that magenta blazer, and reveals the bump. Live. To the entire planet. Pregnant. Unannounced. The arena erupts. Twitter erupts. History is made. That single moment becomes the most tweeted about second in the platform's life up to that day. Mommy goals, black excellence. The Carter dynasty officially has an heir on the way. That alone would have been a generational, frame it in the Smithsonian moment. Cute, clean, closed. But fast forward to October 9th, 2011. Beyoncé sits down on an Australian couch for a show called Sunday Night HD. She lowers herself into the seat, and for one half blink of a second, the round of her belly visibly folds in on itself. Like a balloon nobody told the audience was a balloon. Then it pops back out, just that fast, and the internet absolutely loses its mind. Tabloids freeze the frame. Forums slow it down to half speed, quarter speed, eighth speed. Millions of plays. Millions. Beyoncé fires back through Billboard, calls it absurd, calls it ridiculous, calls it a flat lie, and asks one rhetorical question that her entire defense rested on. Doesn't fabric fold? And honestly, garments do crinkle. People sit awkwardly. Light hits weird. That clip on its own is not proof of anything. But here is the splinter nobody could pull out of the foot. Her due date was reported as February 2012. In the behind-the-scenes footage from the countdown video recorded in late September 2011, she said on her own camera, in her own voice, that she was already 6 months along. Then, Blue Ivy was born on January 7, 2012, 4 months and 10 days after the VMA reveal. Do that math twice, slow, because by December, she was photographed looking visibly, unmistakably full term. That is an extremely tight runway. Pregnancies are unpredictable. Bodies carry differently. I'm not arguing with biology, but that timeline alone, just by itself, would have stayed in the gossip column and died there. Except 3 days after that VMA bump reveal, the 29-year-old woman who was allegedly carrying Jay-Z's child was found cold on her bedroom floor. And right there, that is where this entire saga shifts gears, from gossip to something else entirely. September 1st, 2011. Kathy White is discovered lifeless inside her Manhattan apartment. 29 years old, no documented illness, no prior collapse, no history, no warning. Healthy, successful, climbing, gone. The official paperwork comes back stamped brain aneurysm, clean, tidy, closed file. Move along, nothing to see, that kind of clean. The internet was supposed to nod, light a candle, and forget her name by Christmas. But the air around this story has never stopped smelling wrong. According to the same Hollywood Street King blogger who originally cracked the affair allegations, an NYPD detective whispered something very different at the time. The detective allegedly said the cause of death was uncertain, that toxicology was still pending, and the kicker, the part that lands like a brick, that full toxicology report was never, ever released to the public. Not in 2011, not in 2015, not in 2020, not now in 2026. 15 years. A young woman drops dead in the middle of a tabloid storm she's the center of, and the toxicology results just quietly evaporate? Make that make sense for me. Pause. Breathe. Sit with the chronology one more time. 2 weeks before her body went cold, Star magazine was actively investigating her supposed entanglement with Sean Carter. Sources circling that situation later claimed Kathy rang Jay-Z directly and told him she was prepared to detonate the entire story publicly if a number was met. Allegedly. That phone call happened roughly 14 days before her last breath. Then, on August 28th, Beyoncé flashes the bump on the VMA stage. 48 hours after that, Kathy is gone. No warning, no prior collapse, no recorded condition, just gone. A young, healthy Howard graduate just stops breathing, and the only people who could have benefited from her silence were sitting front row at every awards show that fall, smiling for the cameras. Now, meet a name a lot of casual viewers of this saga have never heard. Liz Crokin, and in my honest opinion, she is the single most important voice in this entire timeline, the one nobody wants to amplify, the one the algorithm keeps quietly demoting. In 2011, Liz was a senior editor at Star magazine. She was personally handed the assignment to investigate the Jay-Z affair allegations. This same August, this all detonated. She actually got Kathy on the phone, voice to voice. Real conversation. Kathy denied the affair at first, standard playbook, but the moment Crokin slid those Tao nightclub photos across the table of the conversation, Kathy reportedly cracked, said she was thinking about coming forward with the entire thing. coming forward. Those are the words. A few days slid by. Crokin tried to dial Kathy back. Phone went dead air. Voicemail. Nothing. So she calls one of Kathy's coworkers at White Label PR. The coworker delivers 5 words that have been ringing in conspiracy circles for over a decade now. She's dead. She's gone. Years passed. The story drifted into internet folklore. Then, in 2024, Liz Crokin posted something that absolutely detonated across X and Telegram. I am paraphrasing in spirit, so we keep this clean. She wrote that Jay-Z's public exposure was a matter of time. She said he was sitting on the exact same iceberg Diddy was about to crash directly into. She referenced the line Kanye West once threw on stage. She insisted Jay was rotten down to the core, and then she vowed publicly, in writing, that one day there would be justice for Kathy White. She wrote, and I want you to read this part twice, that she would know, that she had been there. That last sentence put a chill in the room that has not left since. And about that Kanye moment Liz referenced, pull this clip up on a second screen if you've never seen it, because in 2026, it doesn't sound the way it sounded the night it happened.
By 2024, a YouTuber under the handle Trap Lore Ross drops a 49-minute deep dive titled The Disturbing Death of Jay-Z's Mistress. Goes viral, millions of views, catapults the Kathy White case into the timelines of an entire generation that had never even heard her name before. Suddenly, this isn't a 2011 ghost story anymore. It's alive, it's trending, it's everywhere. And the genie does not go back in the bottle. Now we shift into the era of the people who simply will not let her stay buried. Jaguar Wright, October 2024. She climbs into the chair across from Piers Morgan on his uncensored program, and she does not soften one syllable. She labels Jay-Z and Beyoncé, paraphrasing for the room, a vile little duo who do vile things, holding individuals against their will, putting people on aircraft while they are knocked out cold. She claimed they have hundreds of survivors out there. She said 3 of those survivors were ready right then to put testimony on the record about Mr. and Mrs. Carter. The Carter legal machine sprung into motion that same week. Their attorney, Alex Spiro, hand-delivered an ultimatum to Piers Morgan's production. And Piers, who was famously not the type to flinch at anything, actually issued an on-air apology and surgically sliced Jaguar's accusations clean out of the published interview. Now read that move with adult eyes. The man who interviewed serial killers without breaking a sweat folded inside 72 hours. But Jaguar didn't shut up. She didn't fold. She didn't issue a clarifying statement. She walked across town and sat down for nearly 2 hours with a platform called Real Life Productions. And this time, she got specific. Names, dates, allegations, the whole arsenal. She accused Jay-Z of essentially harvesting careers, and in her telling, lives. Names dropped. DeHaven, Big L, Dame Dash. She claimed Sean Carter lined up DeHaven, hijacked his identity, and absorbed his life like a software update. Same playbook on Big L, same playbook on Dame Dash, except in Dame's case, she claimed Jay walked away with his romantic relationship too. She accused him of having a hand in the deaths of Aaliyah and Pimp C. She suggested Aaliyah was put on a faulty aircraft as punishment for rejecting him and as a runway, literally a runway, for Beyoncé's elevation. And then she circled right back to Kathy. She called her Corey. When I say Corey, I'm talking about Kathy White, Jay-Z's pregnant girlfriend, the one who supposedly died from an imaginary brain aneurysm. Imaginary. Let that adjective hit the floor and bounce. Imaginary. Not real, not tragic, not coincidental, manufactured, convenient, engineered. That word is the entire thesis statement of this conspiracy in a single syllable. Now look, some of what Jaguar Wright says is, to be honest with you, out there, loud, unverified. Take a generous helping of skepticism with everything she puts on the record. But here's the catch that breaks the room. People mocked Jaguar in 2020 when she was screaming about Diddy, called her unstable, called her a fabricator, called her crazy. Then 2024 hit. The Diddy case ripped open, and suddenly the things she had been shouting for years didn't sound unstable anymore. They sounded pathetic. So when she points at the next name on her list, you might want to write it down. Now plug Curtis Jackson into this equation. Once 50 answers the chat, the temperature in the room shifts in real time. December 2nd, 2025. His 4-part Netflix docuseries on Sean Combs drops worldwide. Jay-Z is conspicuously, surgically, deliberately absent from the entire project. And 50, being 50, instantly trolled Jay publicly. He posted a deep-faked clip stitching Jay-Z's face onto Lionel Richie at a piano, captioning it as the message Jay supposedly sent him after realizing he wasn't featured in the documentary. The roast was so disrespectful, even Jay's own fans were laughing. Days later, 50 stepped up and confirmed on the record that his next major Netflix project is going to focus exclusively on Sean Carter himself. Read that line again. The same producer who walked the world through the Diddy unraveling is now lining up Jay-Z for a documentary of his own, a man who has never lost a public war in his life. So follow the trail. Between Jaguar Wright, between 50 Cent, between Liz Crokin, the people refusing to let Kathy White stay buried are not bot accounts on Twitter. They are personalities with platforms, with industry ties, with apparently enough documentation to feel safe broadcasting these claims out loud, on camera, on the record. Now we slide into the part that absolutely fractured the internet across 2024 and 2025. March 29th, 2024, Beyoncé releases Cowboy Carter. Most of the planet zooms in on Texas Hold'em, but a noticeable chunk of listeners locked onto track number 18.
A song called Daughter. It sits directly after Jolene, which, if you don't already know the lore, is literally a song about a woman attempting to steal another woman's man. And the lyrics on Daughter felt strange, personal, naked, like Beyoncé was finally airing out something she had been swallowing for over a decade in pure silence. TikTok pounced. The community theory exploded. The interpretation? Beyoncé was either confessing or quietly threatening, and the entire track was tied directly to Kathy White, the woman who allegedly tried to take Blue Ivy's place inside this family. Then, April 28, 2025, Blue Ivy, now 13 years old, walks onto the SoFi Stadium stage on opening night of the Cowboy Carter World Tour as a principal dancer. And side note, the kid bodied it. She is genuinely talented, trained, a real performer with stage presence beyond her years. But the internet wasn't only watching her dance. They were doing something brand new at scale. They were placing Blue Ivy's face side by side with photographs of Kathy White. The curve of the jawline, the architecture of the cheekbones, the shape of the eyes, the soft slope of the nose. A TikTok trend caught fire under the tag Kathy White Blue Ivy, racking up tens of millions of views, including one massively viral comparison from a creator named Turi Bubble Art back in February 2025. And once again, this is not evidence of anything. You're staring at a 13-year-old kid and projecting features onto a face. That is not proof. That is not court admissible. That is internet sleuthing at its messiest. But it tells you everything you need to know about how deep this rabbit hole runs in the public imagination right now. Meanwhile, what has Jay-Z been doing while all of this is detonating around him? Spoiler, he hasn't been sipping champagne in a quiet penthouse. He has been playing defense across multiple fronts, all at once, all on fire. December 2024, Jay-Z gets named in a lawsuit filed by attorney Tony Busby. The complaint alleged Jay-Z and Diddy assaulted a 13-year-old girl at a VMA afterparty back in the year 2000. The accuser voluntarily dropped that particular claim in February 2025, but Busby's separate independent lawsuit against Jay-Z is still wide open, alive, and breathing in the Southern District of New York as of March 2026, right now, as you watch this. Jay-Z then attempted to file a defamation suit of his own against Busby, thrown out completely in July 2025, dismissed. Done. And in the March 2026 issue of JQ magazine, Jay handed the world one of the most personal lines of his entire career. He said it was hard. He said it was really hard. He said he was heartbroken. Make of that whatever you want, but for a man who built his entire empire on swagger, untouchability, and unshakable poise, the word heartbroken is a heavy, loaded, revealing word. That word does not fall out of Sean Carter's mouth on accident. That word fell because something is bleeding underneath it. But now we arrive at the moment that triggered this entire video, the reason we are all sitting here together right now. April 2025, Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mother, releases her memoir, Matriarch. She steps onto a full press circuit, magazine covers, morning shows, podcast couches, smiling, composed, polished. And somewhere in the middle of that whirlwind on national broadcast, she just shatters. CBS Mornings, sitting across from Gayle King, Tina visibly crumbles on camera. Voice breaks, words come out thick, and what she says deserves your full, undivided attention. I have never felt fury like that. This was supposed to be sacred. They had no clue what my daughter had endured. Multiple losses, multiple heartbreaks before that baby. She labeled the hate unimaginable. She called it one of the most brutal stretches of her life. In People magazine the same week, she called it one of the most agonizing experiences she had ever lived through. To E! News, she said she wanted to scream at these people. She wanted to drag them by the collar. She wanted to set the record straight and shut the noise down. She said they had no idea what her daughter, what Jay-Z, what the entire family had been forced to endure. But here is the line that knocked me sideways, the line that made me pause the interview, rewind it, and play it again 3 times back to back to make sure I heard her correctly. Tina admitted on that same press tour that she is still actively wrestling with this 14 years later. 14. Not 14 days, not 14 weeks, not 14 months, 14 years. A woman who has weathered every storm imaginable alongside this family is still openly weeping about this single rumor on national television in 2025. Sit with that for a beat. Really sit with it. Because that detail alone is the entire video. If this were truly a harmless internet conspiracy that fizzled out years ago, if this were truly nothing, if this were just folklore, why is Beyoncé's mother still sobbing about it on camera in front of millions in 2025? Why does this one rumor refuse to stay buried? Why do the names keep resurfacing? Why do whistleblowers keep raising their hands? Why does every comeback album, every world tour, every glossy magazine interview, every red carpet, every Grammy speech somehow circle back to one young woman whose name was Kathy White Birdie? A daughter from Louisiana, a Howard graduate, a businesswoman, a friend. A name that one half of the internet refuses to forget, and the other half has been told repeatedly, firmly, with lawyers, to stop saying out loud. And I want to leave you with one last detail nobody is talking about loud enough on this app. There is reportedly a sealed federal filing that allegedly got unsealed by a court clerk earlier this year by accident. A clerk who, according to insiders quietly whispering on burner accounts right now, did not know whose name was inside the document she was timestamping. That filing has since been resealed in record time, almost surgical timing, almost too clean to be coincidence. But people saw it, people read it, people photographed it, and one of those people allegedly sent screenshots to 2 separate journalists on the same night. Whether that paperwork ever surfaces in public daylight, whether it walks into an open courtroom, whether it gets buried again by Friday morning, that single question is the next chapter of this entire saga. And that chapter is loading right now, in real time, behind locked doors that thousands of people are quietly trying to pick open. So I want to hear from you. Honestly, where do you actually stand? Do you believe there is something real and ugly buried inside the Kathy White story that the public was never permitted to see? Do you think a young woman lost her life and the world just accepted a tidy explanation because the people involved were too powerful to question? Or do you think this is just a 14-year-old internet ghost the algorithm keeps reanimating every 2 years for clicks? Drop your honest take in the comments. I read them, all of them. The wild theories, the cautious takes, the personal cousin of a cousin stories, the deep cuts I haven't even thought to research yet. If this video gave you a clearer picture of what is actually happening underneath the glitter, smash that like button. It genuinely helps push past the suppression that always surrounds stories like this one. Tap subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Share this with a friend who still thinks Kathy White is just a footnote. Because the next chapter is already loading, and when it drops, I want you in the front row, popcorn in hand, phone fully charged. Stay sharp out there. Stay loud as hell. Stay curious. And keep asking the questions that powerful people would prefer you quietly stop asking. Because the second a whole room goes silent, the cover-up wins. I will see you on the next one.